Hello and welcome to this video. Anybody who knows my videos well will notice I am talking in a very calm voice because this video has been designed for creative musicians that are having a meltdown. If you are having a meltdown, whether it's anxiety or self-loathing or self-doubt, I hope this video will help you out a little bit. Before we get into all the stuff I'm going to cover on this video, I'd just like to say I am just as bad as you guys. I'm a creative musician. I suffer with anxiety. I suffer with self-doubt, with self-loathing. But there's a couple of things that have helped me as I've grown older, and hopefully some of the things on this video will help you too. Now, the first thing we need to do is just get out of the future. Your mind is in the future at the moment. If you have anxiety and if you are suffering with depression, your mind is in the past. We need to get into the present. And to first get into the present, that's going to take a chemical change. You are fighting against chemicals at the moment that is causing all this panic. So we're going to try and rebalance ourselves and get into the moment by becoming aware of the very thing that we are doing all the time, which is breathing. We're going to breathe in, hold it, and then breathe out and hold it. When we breathe in, we're aware of all the lovely air coming in, which is keeping us alive and going up the old hooter. Then we're going to hold it. And then that little tension you have, we're going to release. And when we breathe out, we're going to go, ah, right? Our fat stomachs are going to bulge out. We're going to sit all floppily. But when we breathe in, we're going to get a bit proud. Hold. And then breathe out. Oh, and the feeling, that lovely feeling you can embrace as a little bit of the tension goes away. Now, if you are really panicking, this will be quite difficult. And you may find yourself breathing in, holding it and almost shaking because your body is going into fight or flight, so you want to breathe heavily. When I say heavily, actually shallow. So we're going to do this for a minute. It's going to be quite difficult for some of you, but let's just see for a minute and see how it works. If anybody passes out, it's not my fault. I'm not a doctor. You were stupid enough to come on this video and do what I said, but let's see how we get on. So that's my disclosure there. So after 5 seconds, we're going to breathe in. We're going to imagine it's like a square. This is what I do. I imagine I'm here and I go up. 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3. Let's have a go, shall we? You ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Hold. You can't do this wrong. Just do it. 2, 3. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. In. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. In. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. Hold. One more. In. Hold. Out. And hold. Now just take a little feeling. Is it any, or won't have gone away completely, but it's just gone away just a tiny amount. If it did, you may hear a little bit of tinkly music in your subconscious over there somewhere. And we are going to now shut this down, stop the outside world of the internet coming in, and this man's going to play us a little bit of slide guitar now.
Stick around and come to the right place.
He's a very relaxing man as well. Now, of course, this is not part of my plan. This is a mistake. But when the world offers you these things, embrace them to yourself. Don't fight them. And be blessed that that beautiful music that I almost predicted would happen. But I'm afraid, Mr. Slide Guitar, I'm going to shut you up.
Done a lot of session work on other people's stuff, recording my own slide guitar album called True.
There we go. Don't panic. Just act in a way that's relaxed and roll with the punches and try and get the best out of them. That's your first lesson of the video. Right, now the second thing we're going to do is now we're going to center ourselves in the moment. And you're all musicians, so I think this sort of meditation may help. So what I want you to do is, in a minute, I want you to pause this video. Now, YouTube has never told you to do this, but I am going to tell you to do that because you might not come back. But I don't care if you don't come back. I just want you to get to somewhere that's a little less stressed. So what I'm going to do in a minute, I'm going to say, pause the video, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to listen. And I want you to name 5 things that you can hear. The first thing will be obvious, but I want you to extend your hearing out into the world and reach out into it to see what else you can hear. And once you've named 5 things, I want you to come back in. I'll do it now and see what I can hear. I can hear cars. I can hear my kids playing and shouting. I can hear the slight hissing of my central heating system. Now these last 2 may be hard to get. I can actually hear some footsteps outside. I can hear someone turning on a tap. So that's the 5 things. Now, we'll talk about that when you come back. So that's what I want you to do next. Pause the video. I will actually pause for you, just for a little bit of entertainment, and then we can come back. So pause the video now. And we're back. Brilliant. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for returning to this video. So, it was very interesting when I was just closing my eyes and trying to reach out into the sound. Morality stepped in. And morality went like this. They went, all these people are watching you do this. This needs to be quick. They're not going to want to watch a video of you just sitting there with your eyes closed. It's just perfect silence. There's nothing going on. They haven't come on YouTube to see nothing going on. Or have they? I don't know. Is it right or wrong? I've got no idea what I'm doing really. I'm not even a doctor or anything. How can I teach meditation? All that starts to wind up in my head as I'm doing that. And I realize that the pressure of being on camera right now and knowing people are watching me is like a moral pressure. And if we're creative musicians, that's the pressure we have. We want to get our stuff out there, but we're very aware that it's going to be judged by an audience outside, okay? Now, what's very interesting is a lot of musicians, right, and I used to teach in a college, so I became very aware of this. In the college I taught at, I think 85% of the students I taught had proclaims some sort of mental health issue, usually anxiety, sometimes depression, and a quite high level of autism or Asperger's, right? And I saw these as starting to see them others all being related. And one of the revelations I had was the things that made them have these mental illnesses, the thought processes, in a way, made them good musicians. Right, so I'm going to give you an example of this. The musicians who were very good on their instruments and had a lot of technical ability seemed to beat themselves up over the most minor things. The ones who thought they were wonderful were absolutely awful, because they didn't have this inbuilt drive to put everything under the microscope to see where the badness was and then change it. There was this idea that they were working towards perfectionism. Now, perfectionism is a human idea. It doesn't exist. It was dreamt up by Plato. There was a philosophical problem, which was a category problem, which was how can we categorize things that are all different, you know? So if I say a bear, in this room I've got teddy bears, but then you've got polar bears, and then you've got grizzly bears, right? And then I think, don't homosexual men, aren't some of those bears as well? So how are they all categorized together? How are these things all categorized together? And what Plato came up with is he said there was this platonic bear, the perfect bear, to which all the bears were sort of descended from, if that makes sense. This idea influenced Christianity deeply, and it is now embedded in our culture and our psyche and our beliefs and our aesthetic ideas, the idea that there's a quest towards perfection. But that really doesn't exist. Now, there's some utility in thinking there's a perfection, but there's also a problem with it. Now, we have to ask ourselves the question, why do creative people exist? Why do human beings need creative people? Now, that is pretty obvious, isn't it? Is that you need new ideas, right? You need new ideas that surround truth. So there's people trying to find out stuff, whether it's true or not, and they're called scientists. People are trying to take that truth knowledge and turn it into things that will help us and aid us in our life, technologists. But there's also creative people who are trying to reflect the world around them and trying to somehow embody how they feel about the world, which I think they want to do because they want to see if the way they see the world and how they feel about the world chimes with people outside. And those are the artists, they're the creative people. All those have one thing in common. All those need problems to exist. The scientists need something that they don't know and they want to find it out. The technologist needs something like, I've got an itchy back and I can't scratch it, or, you know, every time I get out of the bath I slip over, and all these types of things. They've got to solve those problems. And the artistic person needs to see a world which is in a way reflected in their creation, which is ugly, and so the problem is that their art is ugly. That is what they feed off. They see aesthetic ugliness and they try and change it. Now that might sound a bit weird, but I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Say you're in a recording studio and you're mixing a record and you've got a singer and you're putting some reverb on. Now you know the vocal is not right. There's the problem. You start to wind the reverb on, and you're going to stop it at a certain point where you think it feels right. You know, artists look at the world around them and they go, this isn't right, and they try and put it right. It's not just a reflection. They're trying to embody what is wrong and what is right. There's a morality in there. And I believe our morals as human beings are at first negotiated by artists. And because that is so important, there are lots of artists who are different from everybody else in society because they are genetically evolved to seek out problems and react to them and try and solve them. And these problems are related to how they feel. So it's related to themselves. So they have a machine inside them, it's churning all away, right? If that machine is not working, the machine starts to come in on itself, and it uses two methods that I'm aware of. I believe that the arts are basically a way of drawing together two opposing ideas or concepts about the world that are so fundamental to us as human beings that it's difficult to see how much we see the world in these two opposing ways. The one way of seeing the world I could embody by putting my arms out like that, right? And it's the plane that we exist in right now. It's space. It is the fact that I can reach out and grab that here and touch that. It is time frozen. It is the eternal now. It is the blissful state that we tried to get into at the beginning of this video, where we tried to get more into the moment. It's the thing that self-remembering does. It's the thing that mindfulness does. We're going to try and get into the moment. It's the realm of space. We're going to try and stop thinking about time. But time operates that way. Right now we have time, and time is in front of me, it's the future, and time is behind me, and it's the past. Now, us as human beings, we have to project into the future based upon what happened in the past. And when creative people do that, they do that aesthetically. So what they're doing is they're looking back at the past, at what was wrong, because they are naturally problem needers. They need that problem. There is no point in the artist looking back, or the scientist looking back and seeing something that's right. They need to see something that's wrong, and then in the future put it right. That is what artists do, right? And this awareness of the time axis, right? When you create a piece of art, you're in the now, you're projecting into the future and imagining somebody will be listening to your track in the future, or looking at your piece of art, or reading the story. You're in the future, you're judging your past, and you're trying to create something that will make aesthetic sense to the person and make this statement. Now, to make the statement well, you will need to balance two parameters that are directly related to this. Right? The thing about being in the moment is about pleasure. It's about seeing something. It's about our desires. It's the Dionysian. It's seeing the nice cup of wine and reaching out to it, to drink to it, to have the taste of the wine. But then we wonder, is the wine poison? Right? And that is the idea in the future, that the wine might do me some harm, based upon stuff in the past. You know, maybe you're aware that someone's poisoned something, or there might be some sort of contamination in there. Right? This is how artists work. It's the hand grabbing in the moment and then wondering whether that's the right thing to do. That is the basic state of human beings, right? And when you create art, what you do is you take that in the momentness, which is related to pleasure, or we could call hedonism, you know, of being in bliss, right? It's that thing. And we try and present that in a way which is perfect. And perfect relates to everything being in its rightful place on the grid. And the grid, the imaginary grid of perfection, is the thing that's operating that way. We're aware if we get everything too perfect, the art will be sterile because there'll be no emotion in it. But if we get it too full of emotion, it won't make sense. It'll be incoherent and just noise and shouting or whatever it is. So we're trying to balance, based upon who we are, these two separate factions when we create art. I think fundamentally that is the role of art. And creative people are wired in a certain way to do that, right? The problem is when they don't do it. So everybody who's watching this, who is a musician or they're an artist, I want to tell you something. You've come here because you're stressed, because maybe you've got self-doubt, maybe there's self-loathing there, maybe there's panic, maybe you're worried about dying, maybe you're worried about the embarrassment that's going to be caused by you doing some social faux pas. These are all the sort of things that could cause torment. Maybe you think that you've failed in life. Maybe you think that, you know, other people have done better than you and you haven't, and you're just, all these things are swimming around, and that's all about this axis. Now, I want to ask you a question. What happens when you start to create? If you sit down and start to make music, if you sit down and pick up a guitar and start to strum it and play it, If you could get out of worrying about how that sounds and what people are going to think about it in the future, if you could just move away from that and step away from that a little bit, do you not find that it actually calms down these voices? The reason I'm doing this video is because I believe wholeheartedly that for the creative person, the tonic, the remedy for their anxiety or depression is creativity and creative music making and creative art making. But the problem is with the creative person is they are so wired into this dynamic, right? So they can be so addicted to the pleasure principle, right? Which is where you get all the sort of drug abuse and all the sort of hedonism that we associate with artists. And you can be cursed by your past and cursed by the potential of your future, okay? And I think this is the problem that artists have. So how do you get out of this? For the rest of this video, I want to explain a way of thinking that I have used quite a lot and I've spoken about on this channel before, all right? And it goes like this. Art does come from the eternal now. Art comes from our reaction in the moment in time, all right? Thoughts arise and thoughts wane. Our experience will create new reactions. It will create new thoughts, new ideas, if our experience is new. So the first thing I want you to think about is how circular and predictable is your day? And if you're doing the same thing over and over again, listening to the same music, looking at the same websites, whatever it is, you will not be able to create new things. Your body will feel it, and then the great demon of morality will poke its head up and go, see, you've got no ideas, you're not inspired. You used to be inspired when you were young, but you're not inspired now, and everything you do is shit anyway, and you shouldn't bother doing it. I don't know why you bother doing it for, because nobody likes what you're doing, and what's the point in you doing it, because you're not very good anyway, and even if you were good, there's so many other people that are good trying to do it. Right, that is the voice you need to shut up. Right? If you hear that voice at all, there's no point in arguing with that voice. You go, oh, just shut up. Go away. Right? That is what you have to do there. You have to be able to identify that voice and tell them to hook it to get lost. And you have to realize that you react to the world. It doesn't matter whether your reactions are good or bad. You have to change what's up here, and you have to change it into the idea that you are a creative person, and that the anxiety, depression, if this is ringing true, if you're watching this video, which is why I'm doing it, and you're going, oh my God, this is me to a T, then I'm telling you something right now. You are a creative person and you have to create. And it does not matter if your creative output is crap. You are not the one to judge that. The world will judge that. And I promise you, if you follow these rules directly, the world will judge it as being good. But you have to take that out of being part of your business. You're the creative artist. You're just going to create. Everyone else is going to make a judgment. And the reason why is because your system has to create. That's who you are. And if you don't create, you are going to get into a bad place. Whether it's good or bad and right and wrong do not matter in this. And to create new ideas and have new thoughts, you need to have new experiences. So number one, get out there, get out into the world and have a different experience. It might be just going for a walk and walking down a road you haven't been down, right? It might be taking a journey. It might be listening to music you don't normally listen to. It might be ringing somebody up who you like but you don't talk to and saying, "Why do you want to go out for a meal? So, like, do you want to pop around and have a cup of tea?" You are going to upset the system. You're going to get the world to come your way, right? And you're going to base that on your gut instincts. You're not going to question it. You're going to think, what shall I do today? What am I going to do? I will return to that idea in a bit. If you do that, right, and I want you to think that as being 12 o'clock, that's experience, new experiences. So now we are going to move round to whichever that one is on your screen, because I'm reversed at the moment. So that looks like 9 o'clock. So I'm hoping that's 3 o'clock for you, right? If I've been able to work that out. And so 3 o'clock is the awareness of vague ideas that you don't question, right? This is the thing of going for a walk, walking into a place that you haven't been before, and just let those ideas come. Be aware. Don't question them. You won't be able to form them into creative ideas. All you can do is be aware of them. You need to water them and tend them, and they will start to grow. You need to start to think. I really believe that inspiration is continually out there all the time. All right, that it's something like, how can I explain this? When I make these videos, things go wrong, but I don't see them as things going wrong. I see them as the world adding to the video. I've just got to be able to unearth what that means. So you get these strange things that when I started this video, my computer made the little like musical sound out there, and I used that to say that that was the check that you had done my thing well. And then at that moment, a few minutes later, this thing decided to throw this slide guitar, and music suddenly filled the room. And I sit there and go, well, what does that actually mean in my video? What does that mean? What it means is that music is trying to impinge itself on what we're talking about here. Music's out there all the time, right? And suddenly I realized that that was very important, because without that, there wouldn't have been any music in my video. And by thinking of that, I'm talking about this very fact. I'm being informed by that, by the experiences that are out there. You will find certain ideas, and you're just going to sit back and go, what does that mean? What's going on? What's life trying to tell me? Because you need to react. And these will form into ideas. Let those ideas come, and you will move from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And these are your concrete ideas, right? And you could do whatever you want to do. I will return to that concept. But when you arrive here, any idea you have, whatever it is, if it's new, it will be strange. And you will think, I can't do this. I haven't done this before. I'm not good at this. I'm not going to do it. I need to do what I normally do. Well, if you think about it, the things that you can do, you arrived precisely because you had this idea of just doing something new, and you stuck to it. That's very important. Now let's take it, we'll return to that in a minute, but let's say that this idea here, right, you now have, right? Now you have to do it. And here, this one, which is now at 9 o'clock, is finishing it. And not only do you need to finish it, however crap it is, however much you think it's rubbish, you need to finish it and present it to the world, whatever. And you need to present it to the world. You need to put it out there somewhere. If people are interested in how to get their stuff out there, I will talk about that on this channel, right? But you need to, if you're here, you need to get stuff out there, and that stuff will then start to be alive and working in the world, and it will give other people new experiences. That's quite weird, isn't it? But it also will give you a new experience. And I promise you what it will do is you will look at it and you will go, that was great, but now I've done it and I've put it out in the world, I see it like this. And you will go round the circle again. And eventually this circle will start to speed up. And this circle isn't a circle. It's a corkscrew that moves through time, right? And as you start to move through it, you will start to strengthen your inner creativity. And your creativity will have the strength to act as a remedy to your angst and mental health issues, because those mental health issues are all there to enable you to do this, right? I've done a video, I've spoken about this in much more detail, and you can go and check that out. Just put Andy Edwards anxiety and you'll find it. But what's important here is I just wanted to get a different message and pull a few ideas together. Right, so let's look at the things on that clock now, and let's see where people go wrong, okay? Right, here, new experiences. If you've got anxiety, the last thing you want is new experiences. So you have to think within the realm that you exist in of something you can deal with. You don't need to put yourself into trauma. Don't need to put yourself into trauma at all. What you need to do is think, right, what I'm going to do is maybe move my room round, sleep in a different position, listen to this, whatever you could do, but think about what you're doing as a pattern. Maybe you're going to get up early if you're getting up late. Maybe you're going to lie in the bed next day or say tomorrow and not get yourself all stressed out. But you're going to think about the habits and you're going to try and change them. And you're going to, so that is something that you need to do. Now, the reason why you don't want to do new things is because of trauma, right? So most anxiety, I believe, is based upon trauma when we were young, right? So something happened when we were young and it terrified us. Children, when they're young, are not autonomous beings. They are at the whim and they are at the beck and call of the adults around them. Okay? When a baby's born, it's completely reliant on its mother to survive. And if the mother stops doing what it should do, that baby will die. But once you get to 3 and 4 and you can walk around, you start to become aware that there are terrifying things for you. I'm a 56-year-old man. If I was dropped into the centre of a city, I'm pretty sure I could survive. I know how to get out of the dangers. I've got some money in the bank. I'd be able to find a hotel and get in there and do all that type of stuff. I'm not scared, really. Although I'm a little bit because I'm a great musician. But, you know, an adult is not scared of that happening. If you drop a child into a city at the middle of the night, they are in big trouble and they know it. They rely on the parents or rely on the adults in the room to protect them from this. But the problem is that doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's not because of the people around you. It's not their fault. Sometimes it is. That doesn't really matter. But most people who have terrible anxiety or depression, I believe, especially anxiety, is those that were put into a situation where the child was faced with the very real fact that they could not deal with this situation. Right? And when that happens as a child, you go, right, I'm never going to get into that situation again. Never will I get into that situation again. And you start to grow up avoiding that situation and avoiding it. But the trouble is you then get faced with the thing of becoming an adult and becoming autonomous and being in control of your destiny and faced with all these things. And that means you're going to have to go out and face certain things that will remind you or be a direct replication of that situation which you can't control. And the adult you in adult will go, well, I shouldn't be bothered about that. I shouldn't be bothered about this at all. Right? But inside you is not just you. Inside you, there's still that child. Because that child never got over that. So that aspect of your personality is inside you. Now, I've had a ton of counselling, right? And the counselling that I went through was a thing called transactional analysis. And it has the idea there's 3 people inside us. There's the child, there's the adult, and there's also the parent. One of the things I noticed when I became a teacher is I would walk into a room full of kids and I'd have to teach them. And although I was a very anxious person, once I was in that situation, I took the role on of almost like the parent. I was the one who was in charge. And so that would decrease my anxieties down. Most people who suffer with anxiety, if you gave them a child in the situation they're in, their anxieties will diminish. The reason is because they will step up and try and protect the child against whatever fear is frightening them, right? This makes you aware of the dynamic, but the adult is someone who is completely autonomous, and the adult is the person that can operate in all situations on their own. People who are anxious don't feel like they can, right? And that is me to a T. And so you can have counselling, you can get back to that situation, you can become aware, but you are aware of it because if you've had a traumatic thing happen most of the time, you know it's there, but it's there in such a strange way, right? But that's how anxiety works, okay? Now, I think that what children do is they play. And when they play, they move into the sublime. And I think art and creativity is the sublime. And I believe in all their past. The reason why creative musicians are the way they are is because at some point again in their childhood, they experienced an aesthetic situation, an artistic situation, whether it's music or theatre or film or whatever it is. And they were aware that they moved from this place of terror to a place of solace. That is really what music is trying to do, because I see music as this really positive power in the world that is trying to get in, and we want it to come in, but we're using all our morality and all our self-loathing and all our perfectionism to keep it away. And it's tugging at us going, come over to the nice bit. And what that is the child that wants to play. It's the child that wants to go, shall we go out into the woods and have a run round? You know, can we play tig? You know, that's in you, and that is where you go when you start to create. Art is grown-up play. But that same child, often, when you try and push yourself into a situation where it reminds the child inside you of that traumatic event, the child will go and pull it, your trouser leg, but this time goes, I don't want to go there, I don't like it. And you will turn out and you will say to yourself, come on, we need to do this, we need to do this. I don't like it, I'm not doing it. We've got to do it. We've got to go to the job interview. Well, I'm not going. And that's it. I'm going to kick off. I'm going to go nuts. I'm going to make you feel sick. I'm going to make you feel like you got diarrhea. I am going to jump up and down. Your breathing's going to go up, and and then the adult in you goes, no, just stop. And you try and push it all down. And the child's pushing this stuff up, and you are pushing it down, trying to hold it in, right? Trying to hold all that pressure in while you act normal. Now, tell me that isn't fundamentally what anxiety is. It's not about the anxiety. It's about the energy and power required to look normal whilst inside everything is going to bits, right? As the child kicks off and cries and shouts, right? I believe that child is just a child. And if it tells you you're no good, if it says, I can't do it, I can't do that, you know, because it's you talking to yourself. And so the words that of doubt where you think you're not good enough, it's that child inside you. And what you have to do is step above that and go, this child's hurting, right? And you have to ask yourself, if a child is in that traumatic state, and when you're in that traumatic state, what did you need to happen? And I would imagine that rather than the adults in the room going, shut up, keep it down, which is precisely what you're doing to yourself, the adult would come along and put their arms around the child and take them out of the situation. Take them away and console them. You need to learn to do that to yourself. And the way you do that is a number of things. These new experiences are one of those things. Being aware of this and seeing what's going on and ignoring it and realizing it's just a voice that's talking crap. But most importantly, you need to let the children play, which is a Santana song. And I love that song because it feels that it's really dealing with this. You need to let the children play. And that means you need to be creative. And if you are putting up barriers to not being creative and not moving around the circle, well, I mean, because you can't just go into a room and sit in front of a door and think you're going to come up with something. You have to go around the circle of creativity. That circle I've described is based upon Kolb's learning cycle, if you want to know a little bit more about that. The idea of the hedonism and perfectionism, that's really based upon the sort of Greek ideas of Apollo and Dionysus, and you can go and look at all of that type of stuff. The transactional analysis, that can be really personified in lots of different stories, but I think the best story that personifies this is A Christmas Carol. Scrooge has trauma, and the trauma is dealt with in three ways in dealing with the past, the present, and the future. So it brings in this axis and it pulls them all together. And that's my favorite story, because for me, it embodies the path to trying to deal with this stuff that we deal with. I don't think you could deal with it completely, but I know, and this is what I was faced with when I first went to a counsellor for anxiety, and they said, what are you having? And I was having terrible things. I could barely function, barely get out of the house at that point. And they asked me about my history, and he found out that I'd been on all around the world, that I'd been on tour, that I played at Glastonbury, that I'd been in front of 60, 70,000 people audiences. And when I was up there, I felt absolutely perfectly happy. Right. And it was when he pointed this out that I realized that that was the remedy. It was the remedy. Once I'm in the moment of creating, I'm out of it. All right. Now, I've had to put my money where my mouth is, because now I'm in a situation where I have to create 4 videos a week. I can't let inspiration come to me. I have to be able to make it happen. And I have become even better, I think, at just looking around me and going, right, this is what I need to do, and not judging. Right? You have to stop judging, and that is the fundamental thing of this video. So if this has been any help to you, I hope it has. And if it has, go and do something different right now. Just do something. Just sit in a different part of the house, or go out for a walk. Just go out and have a ponder, because this video that I've just created is designed to be one of those shocks that comes along. You know, some of you hopefully have I won't say hopefully, but because this video is going to be called for creative musicians who are having a meltdown. I want to catch that person at that point. They're desperate, and they go to YouTube and they put that in, and when they see that, I go, I'll watch that, and I'm hoping that you feel a little bit more relaxed now. I do, and I tell you why. Because I've been involved in creating this video while I've been talking to you, and all the thoughts in my mind have been able to, work on the substance of this video and try and do all the things of guiding us over around about 3/4 of an hour and taking us on a journey to get to that point. And all that stuff I actually find very inspiring. I'm not scared of it. And the reason I'm not scared of it is because whatever happens in this video, I can deal with it. And if I could deal with it, so could you, right? You've just got to learn how, all right? I'm going to return to this. There's no way in the video that I can get through all the ideas, but I've covered some of them. Now, there is, as I said, 2 ways of understanding this, and I have come at you with a quite rational, logical explanation, right? But I still am a creative artist. This is a piece of creative art, all right? And so you've got to understand that. We're not necessarily dealing with truth. We're dealing with feelings as well. But this has been the rational side. This has been the perfectionist side. This has been the Apollonian side. Now, on this video, I am going to go to the artistic side, and I'm going to present a piece of music that I wrote a couple of years ago. And this music is from an album called Demon. And on Demon, it tries to do what Christmas Carol does. The first 3 tracks deal with the 3 sort of demons that I have that have cursed me all my life. And then on the final 20-minute track, I attempt to summon the demon, and it explores this idea of our demons using the sort of language of horror, which musicians have always been attracted to, and it tries to wind through. And I'm hoping that the video you're about to see, which is, I've created a video to go with that piece of music. If you sit and watch it and get to the end, I'm hoping this video will work in 2 ways, the rational and the emotional. And I'm hoping when you get to the end, some of the images there and the point you arrive will help you to get to this certain point. But who knows? I might be completely wrong. But I've had some fun doing this video. And if you've only just had some fun watching it, that's all that counts. It doesn't matter. You can't go wrong. Just be. Thanks for watching this video. If you like it, please like it. If you want to see some more, subscribe. If you want to come and support me and get in touch with me, I'm over at Patreon. And if my patrons turn around and said, can we have like a Zoom meeting once a month where we can just talk about this stuff, because it really seems to help me, I'll do that. No one's asked for it now, but I'll do that, of course I will. And I ain't the boss of this. I ain't a counsellor or anything. I'm just a useless musician, can't do anything. But I don't mind directing it if it's down for me to direct, because I'm not scared of it. And if you want to support me doing what I'm doing, then, stick some money in the PayPal tip jar. Thank you for watching this. I hope you feel a little bit better. If you do, stick it in the comments below. If it made you feel worse, then stick that in the comments. I'll delete them because I'm going to make sure that I come out looking good, because that's what it's all really about, isn't it? See you on the next video. Bye. let them fall. They're only trying to let you know they have no other place to go. Why won't you come on out and play? Trying to tell you it's the only way. It's time to open up your mind. It's time to look down deep inside. Curled up in a tiny ball, a tiny child, don't let them fall. They're only trying to let you know they have no other place to go. Why won't you come on out and play? Trying to tell you it's the only way. Let them cry, 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 let them cry. Let them cry, 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 let them let them